Hello, my friends. I continue to report on Russian attacks. Yesterday, they carried out a massive assault, but it didn't end there. In the evening, drones continued flying over Ukrainian territory, and there was active work by air defense systems. It seems the Russians are depleting all missile reserves for air defense, likely in preparation for another series of massive strikes with greater impact. Overall, the situation remains extremely challenging. After Putin's statement yesterday, where he mentioned that they are deciding on specific targets for the Oreshnik strikes and that the attacks might indeed happen, new announcements have begun to surface today. Air defense systems around Kiev are expected to face the most intense pressure yet. In the coming days, Russia plans to use operational missiles under the Oreshnik designation. Some of Putin's statements signal a direct message to the West, emphasizing the seriousness of the Kremlin's intentions. A source from the presidential administration highlighted that Putin's statement was specific and made during a CSTO meeting. This indicates that it wasn't merely rhetoric aimed at calming the domestic audience. As previously reported, the Oreshnik strike is expected before the 30th, with final preparations occurring tonight. On November 29th, President Putin is expected to issue a statement warning civilians, and the strike is anticipated to take place the night of November 30th. Honestly, we can already see signs of air defense being overwhelmed today. The sheer number of drones and missiles flying over Ukraine clearly indicates an attempt to exhaust the air defense system. It does seem like they are indeed preparing for strikes. Zelensky also commented on the Russian attacks.
Today in Kazakhstan, Putin once again promoted his missiles, his readiness to kill and destroy. To the thousands of missiles that have already struck Ukraine, Putin clearly wants to add thousands more. He has no interest in ending this war. Moreover, Putin seeks to prevent others from bringing it to an end. Waving around his Oreshnik missiles now is nothing more than an attempt to disrupt the efforts of President Trump, which will undoubtedly begin after his inauguration. Putin wants to escalate the situation to the point where President Trump cannot succeed in ending the war. Putin is solely responsible for this war and the only one who believes in it. That's why this escalation by Putin is an attempt to exert pressure so that later he can force the American president to negotiate on Russia's terms. We are fully aware of the threats we face. Today, I received a briefing from the head of the main intelligence directorate, Budanov, on Russia's intentions for missile strikes. Yesterday, I discussed the situation with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Today, I spoke with UK Prime Minister Starmer. Tomorrow, I am scheduled to talk with German Chancellor Scholz. We must collectively respond to Russia's attempts to worsen the situation and prolong this war. We, along with our partners, are committed to peace. Right now, we need to strengthen our positions, those of Ukraine and our allies. Any Russian blackmail must be met with a firm response, one that Putin fully deserves. And we must focus on the future, the prospect of ending the war with real peace, together with America, Europe, and all our partners. True peace is what we need.
Additionally, Johnson emphasized the importance of arming Ukraine to ensure victory over Russia.
For my money, that has to be NATO. I don't see any alternative. I hope this would something that appeals to President Trump as well. Should certainly be putting troops in to backfill. Absolutely.
British troops.
Yeah, I think in the areas, I don't think we should be sending in combat troops to take on the Russians, but I think as part of the solution, as part of the end state, you're going to want to have multinational European peacekeeping forces monitoring the border, but also helping the Ukrainians. And I cannot see that such a European operation could possibly happen without the British. We've got to be there. Ukraine's actually a very rich country with enormous potential, they will be able to pay back the costs of their defense, just as we did for decades after the Second World War.
Meanwhile, in the Kursk direction, the Russians have launched another wave of counteroffensives aiming to push back Ukrainian armed forces and begin negotiations without losing any Russian held territory before Trump's inauguration. So far, there have been no advancements by Russian forces, but the assaults continue, so we remain vigilant. In the Kharkiv direction, the Russians are conducting numerous shelling attacks. However, no new offensive actions have been recorded, and the front line remains unchanged over the past 24 hours. In Vovchansk, the fighting persists. The situation there is challenging, but the Ukrainian armed forces continue to repel all attacks successfully. Additionally, Russian forces are once again storming the village of Tykha, but over the past 24 hours they have made no gains. In the Kupiansk direction, the situation remains unchanged as of today. For several consecutive days, Russian forces attempted to break through to Kupiansk, but the Ukrainian armed forces successfully repelled them, and no new attempts have been recorded. Currently, the Russians are regrouping and bringing in reserves for more powerful attacks. Limited activity is still observed near the village of Kolesnikivka, where Russian forces are trying to gain control. This is significant as the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed control over the village a week ago, but ongoing battles clearly show otherwise. In the Borova direction, the Russians maintain the activity. They have made significant advances toward Novoplatonivka, but further progress is being blocked by the Ukrainian forces. Fighting has been recorded near Zaporizhzhia and Zeleny High today, although the front line remains unchanged. South of this area, Russian forces are also attempting to advance, conducting assaults on Kharkivka and launching offensive actions from Novoihorivka toward Novosergiyevka. Despite these efforts, the situation here remains stable. In the Kreminna direction, Russian forces continue heavy shelling of Zaporizhzhia and Ivanivka, accompanied by persistent assaults. However, no significant changes have occurred as the Ukrainian forces successfully repel all attacks. In the Siversk direction, Russian activity remains minimal for the third consecutive day. The Russians attempted a breakthrough near Grigorivka, but were once again defeated. The front line remains stable with no notable shifts. In the Chasiv Yar direction, the Russians are regrouping and shelling the area around Stupachki as all previous assaults have failed. Today they continue attempts to advance near Bila Hora, but Ukrainian forces successfully counter them in the fields. Despite these successes, this situation remains challenging, and signs indicate that the Russians are gathering reserves to push toward Konstantinivka. In the Toretsk direction, fierce battles for the city are ongoing. The Russians persist with shelling, but no changes in the front line have been reported. For now, the Ukrainian armed forces are managing to repel all attacks. In the Pokrovsk direction, the Russians continue the assaults on Myrolюбівка, Промінь, Lysivka, Zhovte and Pushkine. Russian forces appear to be making gradual progress toward their objective, leading to an extension of the front line around Pokrovsk. As a result, the situation in this area remains extremely challenging. In the Kurakhove direction, the Russians maintain a high activity along the entire front line. Recently, they managed to achieve a breakthrough near Kurakhove, but no further changes have been recorded over the past day. Despite the exceedingly difficult circumstances, Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Velyka Novosilka direction, assaults on Rozdolne continue with ongoing battles near Novodaryevka. However, Russian forces are not rushing to encircle Velyka Novosilka, nor are they conducting direct assaults. Over the past day, the front line remains unchanged, with shelling persisting at previous levels. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, there is currently a lull. Russian forces have reduced the number of shelling and are not conducting assaults. In the Kherson direction, attempts to break through to the islands continue and the shelling of the right bank persists. However, the situation remains unchanged. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.